Hi, I'm Larry Johnson. I'm a professor at Texas A&M University, and today we're going to talk about blood and bone marrow. The first presentation has to do with features and functions of blood.
Now, blood is a fluid tissue. It's composed of cells, erythrocytes, or red blood cells, and leukocytes, or white blood cells, and platelets, and fluid is what blood is composed of. And the function of blood is the transportation of the cells and fluid. It carries oxygen to and carbon dioxide from the tissues of the body to exchange with the external environment. And here, if you look over to the right of this graph, you can see the oxygen pressure here is greater in blood right after the lungs. So the lung picks it up, and then through the capillaries of the blood system, oxygen tension goes down. And it repeats that over and over again, and carbon dioxide is released in the lungs. So, function of blood is transportation of the cells and fluid, and some of those cells are white blood cells, and that's for the immune system defense of the body. And the plasma itself provides nutrients to tissue, waste from tissues. It has proteins that holds water into plasma, albumin being one of those. It has hormones and other informational molecules. And also it has platelets. And the function of platelets is to prevent the loss of the transportation of the blood and fluid to provide the nutrients or get rid of waste from the body, as well as oxygen and carbon dioxide. Here we see blood. And we see this is a drawing of blood. We see the red blood cells, and we see neutrophils, and we see eosinophil there. There's another eosinophil, red blood cells. The platelets are the little small things. A basophil is hard to find. You can see the blue granules. The monocyte, you can't see the cytoplasm, but it's around here, kind of horseshoe shaped, and the bigger, much bigger than the red blood cells. And then you have lymphocytes as well. If we look at a peripheral blood smear from human, we can see red blood cells in through here. The smaller ones are the platelets that we can see. And the red blood cells are actually not what's released from the bone marrow. It's reticulocytes, and they have a blue tint, and you can see the kind of blue tint to these cells. Reticulocytes, they go through the spleen a couple times, and then they become erythrocytes. So the red blood cells that we see all were reticulocytes that were released from the bone marrow and goes through circulation a couple times and then becomes erythrocytes. As it loses its blue tint, it loses the ribosomes that are in there. We see a couple of neutrophils. And here we can see these are erythrocytes, electron microscopic view, which is very dense because of the high concentration of hemoglobin. But if you look at a reticulocyte, you can see a little bit of mitochondria in there, but also you can see ribosomes. Still has the ribosomes, but gives it its blue tint. If we look at a younger cell type, and we will talk about these a little later on, erythropoiesis, right in here is a polychromatic erythroblast, and here we can see both blue and kind of gray, and that's due to the hemoglobin and the ribosomes in combination makes it polychromatic or more than one color. Point being that is the ribosome that makes reticulocytes blue.
We want to thank the original sources of image and photographs that made possible for one to see the various components of blood and the functions of blood. Thank the original sources for making the images possible. So that's the end of the presentation on blood and bone marrow, that is the features and functions of blood itself.